That aura. Brighter soul.
Yep. Welcome to the show, everybody. Listen to the Confessionals podcast. I'm your host, Tony Murphy. Thanks for being here. Crazy wild experience you want to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is contact@theconfessionalspodcast.com. That's contact@theconfessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com. Hit the contact section, and you can reach me that way as well. Either way works for me. Just get a hold of me. If you want more shows on a weekly basis, just go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the join button, and become a member. There, you will get access to the Thursday shows, which are all the member shows, Tuesday shows, all the public shows, and free, and you get access to the overtime segments when they're available.
I'm not ready yet.
Shadows, which is our new documentary. Go ahead and get that on-demand action right now at Merkle.media. If you want to watch that film, it's available for streaming on demand only on Merkle.media. If you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out. Merkle.media, the Shape Shadows. Dog man, go check that thing out.
I need more time. Bloodsuckers are only capable of lies. Properly mortal. We have many helpful tools harsh and howling eventually become like a song of prayer. It is a blessing to be able to remember and send them to
high value for verification. Like, we want to know, how do you prove it's real? And so that's also another part of this film, is following up.
go to a church, but you'll go to a movie theater auditorium, and that's really what this experience is about. I am a huge fan of the Spirit. I've got some curiosity all the time.
I'm not ready yet.
And I'll just put it like this.
I will last on my own. I can't take any
my grandfather and so I'm right? But then there's other people that you see and they say these things and you're like, okay. Verify it. And so I'm not ready back to you're able to go and verify the miracle. I think that's going to be huge, and I really think it's time, to be honest with you. I think what you guys are going to do with this film is going to open people's eyes.
I need more time.
Context, you can become an atheist because you're like, this is motivational, it's inspirational, but it's not supernatural. My kids went with me. I didn't know the people I was praying for. I was going all over the U.S. and they just saw it repeated over and over and over again. Now, I want to complicate it. In the movie, I talk about this as well. It's not a magic wand. It's not my will, it's God's will. I can't just pray. I'm not going to say 100% of the people that we pray for get healed, but I do know 100% of the people I don't pray for don't get a miracle. And so it's like, I'd rather pray and see what God does. And so, of course, there are people we pray for, nothing happened, but man, night after night, all across America, deaf ears were open over and over and over again. I mean, here's a dramatic story. I was at this tent revival in Washington State, and I prayed for people's deaf ears to be open. They brought me this young woman. She's in her 20s and she's crying uncontrollably, and I'm like, well, what's going on? She said, when I was 8 years old, I had a surgery that removed the bones from my inner ear, and as a result, I've not been able to hear. I'm now in my 20s, and when you prayed, I was instantly able to hear full volume for the first time since I was a little kid. But here's what's crazy. That is like beyond a healing. That's a miracle, because there are biologically no bones there. But see, okay, so you would say, okay, that's weird. That's placebo. That's the power of positive thinking. That's, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, but what do you do with the fact that that same thing happened to another woman on Long Island in New York who also did not have that. So we're going to show that kind of stuff. And so it's like there are not these isolated one-off events. It's replicatable, it's repeatable, it's happening. And so you put enough of that together and you're like, man, there is something to this. And obviously as a Christian, I believe it's Jesus Christ still healing people. If you were hurt by the church, listen, I'm not a fan of the stuff that happens in churches, and I'm a pastor. And so I became a pastor because I know that church is messed up. I know that's a crazy thing to say. Like, you know, it's just like you've eaten a bad meal and you've maybe gotten food poisoning, but you don't make a vow, I'm never going to eat again. And so it's like the equivalence for me was like, well, I'm going to open my own restaurant so that I can help ensure people don't get food poisoning. And so I think at the same time, it's like, yeah, some religious fanatics have screwed it up, but that doesn't mean that there isn't this miraculous that's what this movie is about. And so I just want to encourage people to check out the Domino Revival. It's going to be a crazy experience.
It's going to be absolutely wild. And, you know, for some people, it might be an introduction to...
I'm not ready yet.
Journey of understanding their lives. So I think it's really
I'm not ready yet.
And it really needed a miracle. And so that
I'm not ready yet. I need more time.
There is
I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
I was in Ukraine about 8 years ago, and we were in Western Ukraine, and there was like this hospice care facility. And what we didn't know until we got there was that people are hooked up to IVs, but they only have like saline solution because they did not have access to medicine. It was super impoverished. And so basically this was code for you just go here to die. Like you have terminal cancer, whatever, you just go there to die. These doctors and nurses,
I'm not ready yet.
I'm not ready yet. America, and pray for everybody if they would let me. Anyways, in Ukraine, I was given permission. I said, yes, you go through this whole thing and pray for me.
I'm not ready yet. I need more time.
Cancer, unable to speak. We pray for him. Suddenly he regains.
I need more time.
And they tell us, like, before we go into this room,
I'm not ready yet.
Go in this room. And we're like, why? Like, the guy's dead. And they're telling us through translators, like, why? You know, like, he's dead, don't go in that room. And so one of my team, they're like, you want to pray for a dead guy? And they're like, yeah, we want to pray for that. Like, there's different levels of faith. You know, it's like, that's what faith just as a mustard seed. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even have that much, you know? And this was about 8 years ago, and I didn't have that faith. I'm not praying for people for other stuff, like 35, but I'm like, you're really like crazy.
I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
Like, they were terrified by this. Now listen, in Western, modern, you know, granola American culture, you know, people don't believe that. So what I understand is he was not like fully rehabilitated at that time, and so we never were able to like get that level of feedback. The other thing too is like there's a language barrier, and there was just kind of like some red tape we had to work through to get in there. We were on a trip, it was like a big deal, and so that was like that happened, and from that. No, I can't say that guy in particular, but
tulog ka? Ha? Oo. Parang mas pogi talaga pag hindi siya. Pag hindi nag-shampoo. Pogi. Thanks. Go.
I need more time.
Saan lakad mo mamaya? Saan? May pasok pa ba?
I'm not ready yet.
Ha? Ano pa lang siya?
I'm not ready yet.
Sama mo si Balat. Sama mo si Balat. Ha? Kaya matulog ka. Ayun ako. Ha? Ha? Ang hila eh. At kasi hindi iPhone gamit mo. Ba't ang hila?
Sumigaw ako. Ang ingay-ingay ng lalaro.
Kahit mapatugtog ako. Ay, nakikinig ako. Ay. Hinahanap ka ni Kay eh.
Bakit?
Hindi ka nakikita siyempre.
Okay.
Ha?
Ano ko ba ako eh?
Kakaano mo yan? Puyat. Oo. Siyempre pag puyat ka, bababa resistensya mo. Gosh. Basic.
I need more time.
Kailan ka uwi?
Sunday.
Sure na ba yan?
Diwag.
Ang duwag. Sabi mo nga dati, November 1.
Kapag tinawag ako
That got most of it.
O bakit? Baba mo nga, kakainis yung mga sagutan.
Ate. Ano bibili mo?
Siopaw nga.
Nga, syempre, anong flavor? Yan.
Ano? Bola-bola. Nga.
Ano tricks mo?
Ito. Milk tea.
Ew.
Eh, ang mura eh. Na masarap. Blood sir. Batin ata sila Ann. Batin na ata si Ann tsaka si Phil.
Wala mo. So, tagal-tagal na.
Oo nga ito.
Bakit?
Wala, sweet na ulit yung mga picture. Magkasama na ulit. Dati ayaw mo pa picture ni Ann. Magkasama sila. Sayang talaga yung ano kay Kuya Alvin. Ang laki pa naman yung storage.
Oo nga.
Ibebenta rin daw niya yan eh. Binabuy and sell niya para kumita daw siya. Inaano nga niya ako dun sa mga pautang gano'n. Tapos ako doon ng collateral. Sabi ko, mahirap kasi pag...
Ano, mangungutang?
Hindi. Siya yung nagpapautang doon sa LU. Sabi ko, pag dyan okay lang kasi madali mo lang yun eh. Habulin o kaya hindi naman kasi katulad dito na iba ang utak ng tao dito pag yung nangutang sa'yo, adik, pwede ka pang patayin. Sabi ko sa kanya, mahirap pag dito. Pero kung doon, carry lang. Ang dami niyang dami nagbebenta ng utang sa kanya, tapos mga motor. Hindi nariremata na. Tapos binibenta niya, ang daming bumibili. Kaya kumikita siya.
Alam ko na yain ko si First pumunta doon sa Punta Almara para makauwi kami ng gabi.
Pwede rin. Diretso biyahe na ganun. Ha?
Hindi pa din. Kasi pag sumama ko na Kuya Buboy, overnight yun yung makauwi ng madaling araw, gano'n. Sabi ni Fresh, nagkakumama ng Sunday.
Mga anong oras?
Sabi niya 7 a.m.
Sabi nga mga 10, 11.
Kinuha pa naman ako mag-charge sa Miss Intraps.
Saan?
Sa Miss Intraps sa high school.
Sino ba ang high school sa inyo?
Ha?
May high school na ba? Si Andy?
Alam mo, saan pala ako nag-high school kung wala?
Hindi, tinatanong ko, paano ka naisip na ikaw?
Siyempre maganda ko eh.
Hindi mo.
Siyempre Miss Intraps ako dati ng high school.
Sorry ah.
Kasi ako nakakambag eh.
Wow, pag pinadala na nga kita eh.
Wala ka ako na-receive?
Duo.
Oo nga.
Wala. Sa video mo yun, sinend.
Wala nga eh. Check ko pa.
I'm not ready yet.
Nakakayos mag-onsite. Si Toby ang nagsabi bigla eh. Nagulat yung boss namin. Gre-resign.
Siyempre may ano siya, may... Kaya siya eh.
Kaya sabi niya sa akin, mas malaki pa daw yung kinikita niya doon. Sa ano niya. Sideline niya. Kailangan i-give up daw niya yung 4. Ay, 3 ata. Versus sa isa pa. Mag-ano na nga eh. Nagma-microsourcing yan. So, kaso on-site pa kami. Ay, outside. Ang sabi na.
Ang dami mong grap ah.
Yes. Ilan lang yun? Hindi naman everyday yun. Cancel mo na yun. Ha?
Mawali cancel.
Bakit? Pwede. Nag-blacklist lang daw tayo. Sabi dun, di ba? Nakakainis yung ano. Akala ko may makakatulong na kami ni Toby sa work. Ending, tinitrain ko pa. Sabi ba yung Toby ang daya nung ako yung ano, walang proper training. Tapos ako, magtitrain ako ng bago na ano.
I'm not ready yet.
Sabi niya ako. Tapos hindi ka pinapatukan. Sabi niya nabigay sa trabaho. Dapat lang, sabi ko. Ilang tao na yung tinitrain. Pero basic lang
I'm
naman
not
yung
ready
mga
yet.
ginagawa nila lab, nila Sergey. Bibigyan nila ako ng ano, ng mga magagandang gawa na Power BI. Tapos ipapaaral nila morali sa akin. Tapos biglang after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, biglang may bago ka na newbie. Tuturuan ko. Ganun yung nangyayari. Ang daya tuloy. Siyempre pag sila na yung umawak ng project, marunong na agad sila. Tapos sabihin nila ganun yung mga bago. Tapos ako, hindi ako training. Puro YouTube lang ako si Toby. busy si Toby din. Hindi naman niya matututukan. So unfair. Pero okay lang, mabait naman itong yung bago namin. Nag-antipolo lang, nakalapit sa atin. Sana lang daw siya, bungad sa rotonda.
I'm not ready yet.
Kapag nagawi daw, bibisita daw dito. Sama niya yung asawa niya. Ay, nag-enjoy siya kausap ako. Madalda lang siya.
I need more time.
Siyempre, trabaho. Kaya sumasagot sa mga tawag ko.
Low on energy.
Oo. Dami ko kayang miss call na babag-uwi mo dito yung FaceTime ng dati.
I'm not ready yet.
Kahit nung nandun ako sa LU, ang dami kong tawag.
I need more time.
Ano mali naman tinatawagan mo?
Anong mali? Kasi dalawa naman kasi yung lumalabas.
Ay, tatawagin.
Grabe lang, ang taba ni Lester. Ayop na yun. Kaya pala mura yung bahay na nirerentahan. Pinasok niya pala dun sa OnlyFans yung dalawang anak nung may-ari nun. Eh syempre malaki yung kitaan nila dun. Parang scam yung trabaho na gano'n. Though hindi naman sila namimig sa customer, parang pinapahook lang nila. Tapos pag lumabas na, makikita nila dun sa tool nila pag nag-donate na ng $200 ganun yung Amerikano. Sesendan nila ng hubad na picture ng model nila. Parang same na same talaga dun sa kwento ni Jopet. Pero malakas bumenta si Lester. Paborito siya nung boss niya eh. Nung pagdating ko pa lang dun, pagka 'di ba, sinalubong niya ako, tapos pagpasok ko doon sa kwarto, nag-pop up agad doon sa sa computer niya na may nag-send ng $150 ganyan, yung boss niya pala kasi siya yung top na kumikita.
Salutations, Wanderer. Come and don the mantle of history's champions.
Sabi niya sa akin, syempre best, ito yung talagang yung sa scam dati na na call center, yung ilang beses na re-read dun siya parang ganyan din yung trabaho niya dun. Sabi niya, kabisado na daw kasi niya, may mga spill siya. Magaling diskarte niya eh. Tapos yung mga taga sa amin, yun yung mga niya, pinag-a-apply niya pag may mga bakante. Tapos kinukuha agad, tiwala na sa kanya yung boss niya.
I need more time.
Check mo na ka lang.
Oo nga wala na, hindi ka nga natitinig.
Check na ako.
Bye.
Mag-uwi pa ako.
Are they shopping?
Parang pag-level bigla.
forge is ready for whatever you need.
Welcome to the show, everybody listening to the Professionals Podcast. I'm Tony Purple. Thanks for being here. If you have a crazy wild experience you want to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is contact@theprofessionalspodcast.com. That's contact@theprofessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theprofessionalspodcast.com, hit the contact section, and you can reach that way as well.
There's that. The forge is always hot.
Join button and become a member. You get access to the bonus shows every Thursday or the Metaverse exclusively. You can also access the Tuesday shows ad-free and the overtime segments. They're available right there on the website and the Professionals app. That's a members app only for the members. If that interests you, go to theprofessionalspodcast.com/join. Also, friends, go ahead and check out the Shape of Shadows. Me and my team went out to Utah, we went to Mason and hunted the Skinwalker for a week. We uncovered a lot of wild things. Trackways that seem to transform ritual circles that we were told were actual Skinwalker ritual circles. UFOs were in the sky. We were even chased by unknown entities. I'm not sure who it was, but they definitely chased us. We got that all right there for you on the Shape of Shadows. Go to verbal.media if you want to see that film because it is exclusively available on verbal.media. Just hit the now button and you'll be good to go. All right, friends, listen. We have James Shusky coming on the show today, and he has
I need more
so
time.
much stuff to talk about that him and I are going to have to do multiple recordings. But today, we talk about the Rookatating at Washington State. What is that? Not many people know. He started uncovering this phenomenon not too long ago, but his theories are very sound as to why this thing could possibly be. All right, today we have James Shusky. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great yourself.
Good. So I want to kind of give the audience a little bit of your backstory, how you and I were supposed to meet and never did. I think I told the audience this year that I would have
I'm not ready yet.
location where he had his radical Bigfoot encounters, and we did a whole documentary up there. And part of that journey was meeting you. Only I wasn't there because my flight left Knoxville just a tad late, and we are just flying east to Charlotte to catch a flight from Charlotte to go to Portland. And it's literally a 20-minute flight from Knoxville to Charlotte. And I'm running through the Charlotte airport. And I'm sweating, I'm drenched in sweat, and I'm breathing. And I don't run a whole lot, so I ran like 100 feet and I was already winded. And I get to the gate and I'm 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes before my flight, you know? And I was like, yes, I made it. I run up, there's no plane. And I said, lady, where's the plane? And she's like, oh, that left 15 minutes ago. I'm like, why are you saying it's a certain time if you're leaving 15 minutes early? And I was just like, oh no. And I had to sleep there in Charlotte overnight and catch a flight out in the morning. And so I missed a whole day of filming, which was you. And so this is actually really great because I felt like I missed out a lot on that day, and I was really miserable. I mean, anybody could ask the guys when they came and actually picked me up at the airport. I walked into the RV, and everybody was just quiet. And like Ward had his camera to film picking me up at the airport. And as soon as he saw my face, he just put the camera down. He was like, we're not going to capture this on footage. I was mad. But here we are, and you are somebody who has a ton of information about the Columbia River Gorge. So what I want to do is kind of hand it over to you and just let people know who you are and where they can find some more stuff, and then we'll get into the topics of the conversation.
Sure. Yeah, my name is James Shusky, and I run an outdoor store in the Columbia River Gorge. It's Gorge's Outdoor Store. And my wife and I took it over probably 2.5 years ago when my mother-in-law passed away. So we inherited these businesses, and so I have been a long-time adventurer. And I was a U.S. Army infantry soldier, wildland forest firefighter, mountain guide.
I think
it's one of the things that's a little bit unique to this area.
Yeah, and that's what we went out there to talk to you about. And
first Carlo, now Leah. There's something out there killing us, and no one will do anything.
I'm gonna do another shot. Click a tat, cheat cat. I just nailed it. It takes me to write it out and how it sounds and read it. It's like mentally like memory. So that's what it is. I'm really interested in this. When the guys told me about what they talked to you about, I was like, I was even more mad. I was actually furious, and because I missed it. And so if we could just launch off into this kind of discussion about the attack team can.
Well, let's have a look.
Things as well, but because one thing for sure, in the email that was sent over to me, the portal idea, I was like, well, yep, gotta talk about that too. So. If we could though start off with the Click Attack Game Cat, because this was something that I had never heard of before, and it's just very fascinating. The fact that you have so many reports is even more fun. It's not just
yeah. So just a little bit of background. Where my store is located in Edgewood, Washington, which is in Clickatack County, and it's named after the Clickatack Indians. And we have a big river that flows off of Mount Adams. so this was not long after we had started this paranormal reporting, put up the sign and did everything else, and it was close to closing time, and a guy came in the store, and his family and Margie, my mother, were pretty
Exquisite.
she was she had a medical background, and their family had some issues, and she was able to help them out, and so there was a little bit of a family connection with this guy. I'd never met him before. Took him about 45 minutes to work up the courage to tell me his story. And once he finally launched into it, I was just fascinated by what he was saying. So he was orienteering. That's, practicing the map and compass out in the wilderness areas. And it was about maybe 3 or 4 miles from the store. It's a tributary of the White Salmon River, which also flows off Mount Adams, called Bug Creek. And he noticed that his compass started acting strange. Now, that by itself is not entirely uncommon. When you look at the navigation maps of the gorge, there are bright pink letters on them. And the government says, warning, your compass readings will be off in this area. Yeah, there's a lot of magnetic anomalies here. So that's an interesting data point. And he continues, and he said, not long after that incident with the compass, he looked up, and across the creek was this enormous, very muscular black cat with a long black tail. And he said that it stood 4 or 5 feet tall at the shoulder. So in the back of my mind, I think, wow, this is a pretty remarkable tale. Of course, we have cougars out here, but cougars typically are not going to get much bigger than 24, 26 inches at the shoulder. And cougars aren't never supposed to be black. When a cougar expresses its melanin, it goes from tan to a reddish color. And since this report, we've talked to wildlife experts. They say, yeah, there's no such thing as black cougars. There's not a thing. They're not recognized by science, at least. So this coloration is a strange beast. The size is a strange beast. Those are 2 flags to the like that's something going on here. He continues to describe this animal. And he says that he watched him for about 5 minutes and is looking right at him. So here's another anomalous data point. The cougars will abandon a fresh kill at the sound of human voices. And for a big cat to remain in his presence and not be stood by him is another big clue that we're not dealing with a cougar. He said that the fur was 4 to 5 inches long and stood straight up in his body. Okay, so again, not sounding like a cougar to me. And then he finally wrote to the courage and said, and James, the strangest thing is that it had a face that looked like a monkey. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? And I pressed him for details. He said that it had intelligent ape-like eyes, some other primate features. There's a few of the details of his story that I always keep quiet so that I can check other people's stories and see if they're matching up. But basically, that was my first ever report of this thing we came to call the Click-Teddy cat. I was completely fascinated. For me, and this is my own personal assessment, the guy was genuinely reporting an experience that he had, right? So there's a number of ways that you can tell when people are telling tall tales. And, when we start to expect folks to come in, have some fun with us, tell some more playful tales. Not many people actually know most of the people that come in. They're very thankful that we have. I was just amazed. And this is really and I was excited. And so the next morning I was talking to my staff about it. And I was describing the creature, describing the incident, and one of my employees very emotionally impacted by the story. Now, you have to understand she is the kind of person that even feels guilty and here she was standing over and listening to this story, and I could tell that she was having a genuine emotional response. She was unconscious. I've seen that creature myself. It was dawn, and she was driving down the canyon. Which is sort of the eastern side of the store, about 10 minutes away from where we are. And she said that she saw this really big black cat with a long black tail walking near the side of the road. She was so astonished by it that she pulled her car over and watched it. She said that it walked into a small patch of tall grass, and then she never saw it again. And she wondered if she should get out of her car and talk to the people who lived in the houses nearby to say, hey, there's this giant snake predator crawling around near your home. She figured out that would go crazy. And so she never did that. She didn't get out of her car and do the investigation. She told her family about it, and they all kind of laughed nervously. They told her that she had probably seen a cat. Now, there's a couple things about that. I mean, first of all, we all have this instinctive reaction when we hear stuff that we've never heard to normalize it. Like you, playing this part about you would need giant black cats crawling around your neighborhood. And so, but this happens a lot with folks, is that they'll hear a story and they'll make a snap decision. This is what it is. It's something that I know. It's nothing unusual. And that way they can sort of reset and keep the world the way it is. And then they make it to themselves and they'll have an experience. So, Missy's family was going to
I'm not ready yet.
just as it's
I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I need more time.
has a radio advertising budget, and the Gorge is a pretty rural area. There's maybe, I don't know, half a dozen, 6 to 8 towns here, 70 to 80,000 people live here, so it's not an enormously densely populated area. And radio is still a pretty effective way to advertise. And so we put up ads on the radio that said, has anyone else seen the giant black cat around Cricket County? And I put up flyers at the trailheads and asked people to come into the store and file any reports. And since then, we've had over 70 reports. And so we've had senior law enforcement officials tell us that they've seen the animal. And lots of credible folks have come in. And so the reports go back 30 to 40 years. And so when you look at the lifespan of like a tiger or a cougar, they really max out in 15 years. Many times much younger than that. So we're talking about something that seems to either have a particularly long life or is reproducing. One report, a gentleman said that he saw it in his driveway, and it had a cub with it. So it had a young, like a kitten, basically, not black, same black coloration. And so that's leading me to believe that we have a reproducing population of these creatures out here. We've had, so of those 70 or so reports, about half of them explicitly describe an enormous size, that 4 to 5 feet tall and the shoulder size. So that's bigger than a tiger, which is the largest living cat on the planet right now. I did a little research. There is only one animal in the fossil record that matches anything near that size. And it is an Ice Age American lion. Scientific name is the Panthera atrox. And these creatures were estimated to be between 1,000 and 1,200 pounds. And interestingly, they had the largest brain capacity of any cat that's ever existed. The fossil record is pretty solid. 80 specimens are found in Brea tar pits. They were definitely Washington State was within their range, but according to science, they died out 9,000, 10,000 years ago, sort of at the end of the Yucca Dryas time frame. So that sort of was my initiation.
I can break that down.
As we're going along, so like I said, about half of the reports say that it's got this enormous size. Everyone says that it's very muscular looking. And then a handful of reports, and it's not more than 10, say that it's got these monkey-like features on the face. And you have to understand,
good business and
my
fortune
process
too.
has been, these reports come walking through the door, and people now stop me in the street or in the grocery store or at the post office and tell me their stories. And I'll get my mind around the fact, well, maybe the monkey thing was just a strange trick of light or some kind of weird, observational issue. And then I'll get another really strong report. I got a report from a fire crew chief. So these were folks that were fighting wildland forest fires up between Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens. They said the little crew saw this thing. They had a 3-day outing, and they were worried about what they would do if it ever showed up in their camp. Now, their description was a little more helpful. They said that now. So, like, if you can imagine the difference between like a German Shepherd and a pug dog, same kind of animal, but one's face
second omelet maker was too irresistible, especially considering the number of eggs I consume as my clock ticks. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/Tony. That's uncommongoods.com/Tony for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Again, this thing is, we have petroglyphs in the area that
I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
They started the Manhattan Project. Everyone understands that the big thing they were trying to go for was to build the bomb. And so you had the team in Los Alamos, and their job was to design design the weapon. But then you had this in Washington State, and reactors that forge the plutonium that would be used in the bomb. So basically, souped up 600 square miles of land, and it killed that site because it was really desolate. It had high water that they needed, so there's a big dam there, and it also had the water that they needed to cool the reactors. And so this is a super top secret reactor in the world, whether it's in creating super soldiers and super animals. They had specially trained 200,000 dogs to fight alongside German soldiers during World War II. They experimented with these animals, but they were also very interested in creating super animals. They actually, through retrobreeding and a number of other weird Nazi things, actually recreated this extinct everything about radiation. This is 1940s, early 1940s, but we do know that it can induce mutations. So from day one, Hanford has got this animal testing lab, and the guy they choose to run it is a guy from the University of Washington, Dr. Donaldson. And Donaldson is looking at techniques and created a mouse that is 8 times smarter. It reaches sexual maturity in there. It's super survivable against the fresh water and so on. And so these animals viable species. He's the guy that they tapped to run the animal lab and they produced the plutonium that roll into the Cold War. They ramp up production. They've got 9 nuclear reactors going there simultaneously, and the animal testing lab grows to be able to house 1,000 large animals. So this is I've seen like 1960s livestock reactors. Like, can you drink cow's milk after it's been irradiated and stuff like that? And so this is a pretty major part of their system out there. Eventually, Donaldson goes to the South Pacific. Which is then taken over by a guy named Bill Baer. And so Bill died in 2004.
I'm not ready yet.
And in 3 different videos, he describes how they were experimenting on apex predators, which eventually escaped and they were unable to recapture. So he tells the story of how they were irradiating alligators. They had between 20 and 30 alligators there at Hanford. He even holds up a picture of the device they used to irradiate these creatures, right? And so obviously alligators are not native to North America. There's no one eats alligator meat. You don't milk alligators. So what the hell are they doing with alligators at this nuclear site? Well, one night, 6 of these experimental apex predators outsmart the scientists and escape from their pens and they get into the Columbia River. So this is a giant PR nightmare, right? Because earlier, one of these creatures had escaped. It was caught by a fisherman. They wound up stuffing it, putting it into a sporting goods store, but the thing was radioactive. And And so they had to send a team out there to get this, to confiscate this radioactive alligator carcass. Well, so when the 6 of them escaped, they decided they were going to put up a press release. And so there's records in the newspaper that this event happened. So to me, like, this is credibility 10 out of 10. Like, you've got historical documentation. This isn't like some kind of James's fantasy about the stuff they're doing out there. So they've got these alligators swimming around the They have an army hunting team, and every day for 6 months they're hunting these alligators. And it gets these things are swimming around out there, and of course the water that comes out of these nuclear reactors coming out of these reactors. And of course, coming out of the reactor cores, that water is also hot radioactive. So anyway, incidents where I was asked if he knew anything about alligators. And like on this interview, he's like,
I'm not ready yet.
Like, you gotta understand, like, this is all kinds of crazy stuff. Alright, so what does all that have to do with alligator or big cats? Well, we have to talk about big cats. I love it. So since 1958, right? So right now, I'm told that a quarter of the nuclear stockpile is guarded by dolphins. The reason? Many of our sensitive nuclear sites are on waterways. So you need that water if you've got reactors. But like
I'm not ready yet.
Because of all of the nuclear missiles we have in this cell base. But they're terrified of infiltrating the site, surveilling it, sabotaging it, whatever. And so with so
I'm not ready yet.
But they realize you can train a dolphin, and the dolphin can figure it out, identify the diver, and special like thing that attached to it. So now the dolphin trained is so good, and it's a diver that flesh the diver. It brings that diver to the surface, and they make it gather dividends from a dead diver in the ocean. Doesn't do you really kind of want to know what goes beacon engine that they're done. So we know that the government is using animals to guard our nuclear sites. Missiles are so anti-aircraft weapons. So the thought is just to give you a sense of how crazy things were.
I'm not ready yet.
Determined it was better to detonate nuclear weapons for the population site. So every one of those Nike missile sites is guarded by dogs, and when you look at the literature in that, they say that one guard dog is better than 10 human soldiers in terms of being a sentinel. So if you're a Cold Warrior and your job is to protect this Hanford nuclear site, you've got 90 miles of coastline that you need to protect. And how the heck are you going to do that? You can't bring dolphins in there because dolphins are saltwater operators and the Columbia River is freshwater. So you're going to try, okay, what creatures can we use? Alligators might be an option. But you're going to ask yourself the simple question, what is the best riverine hunter in the world? Turns out it's the black jaguar. So when you move down to South America, so jaguars live in North America, but their range is 1,000 miles south of Licatancani. But in the Amazon and riverways of Central America, these black jaguars are the top of the predators, and they are incredibly adept in water. They can hold their breath for 15 minutes. They can eat underwater. They can swim over a kilometer in the open ocean. Pound for pound, they're the strongest of the big cats. They can kill alligators with a single bite to the back of the head. It's a single piercing. They don't go for the throat. It's a single bite to the head. They have night vision that's 6 times better than a human being. And as a bonus, they always instinctively drag their prey to shore. So if you are going down a checklist of what animal are we going to convert into a sentry creature to guard our most important nuclear site, and just to give you a sense of scope and scale, enough plutonium was forged at Hanford to build 60,000 nuclear weapons. Alright, so this was our number one nuclear fuel production site. There's nothing that they wouldn't do to guard it, right? And during the Cold War, and it's run by the Department of Energy. There's a couple of different organizations that the Department of Energy was before it was the Department of Energy, but basically the Department of Energy are the same guys that, that show Stranger Things, they're the ones doing that. And so the Department of Energy has got a whole different top secret classification system than the U.S. military. It's highly compartmentalized. So if you don't need to know this particular piece of information to do your job, you're not going to hear it, no matter what your clearance is. And the U.S. government has even forgotten some of the things that you need to do to build nuclear weapons, because those people aged out or died from their jobs. And so you've got these highly compartmentalized programs going on there. So
the Forge is ready for whatever you need.
What happened was they were trying to create a Sentinel Black Panther program. They're probably using some of Warren Donaldson's animal enhancement techniques, right? They're already doing those kinds of experiments with the alligators. Those creatures they were unable to contain, just like the alligators. They escaped from the scientists' captivity. They got into the wild, and they were unable to recapture them. And so when you look at the geography of the area, north, east, and south of Hanford is all sort of high plains desert. Crappy habitat. But as you move west towards Klickitat County and the Cascade Mountains, you've got this incredible diversity of habitat. Lots of prey animals. Lots of places for big cats to live and thrive. And so if you don't want to evoke some type of supernatural reason why these creatures are in Klickitat County, it's not unreasonable to think that they are experimental apex predators that escaped from this Hanford nuclear site.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I don't want to hear any other theories. That's the one I want. That's that's what happened. Okay, we solved it here. We picked the best, most amazing angle, and we're running with it. That is crazy, and it makes total sense from my perspective, and probably a ton of people that listen to the show that live out there. I came from Pennsylvania, moved to Tennessee. When I went from Pennsylvania to Tennessee, the woods were similar, but down here it's different. The woods are thicker, they're larger. I see the Smoky Mountains every day. I'm right there. When I went out to Washington to film, and the guys were out there filming with you, that week we were in the woods out there in the mountains. I had never saw such wild lands in my entire life. I was like, this is a whole other world. This is not...
You're not kidding.
This isn't America. This can't be America.
Yeah. Well, so the thing about Hanford, so it closed down in the 80s, and it's now the nation's worst Superfund cleanup site. So there are decades and decades of nuclear production. It's not just the nuclear waste. There's all kinds of chemicals that they were using to strip the plutonium from the molecule. It's a huge mess out there. And there's a whole set of folks that now are doing studies, and I've talked to wildlife biologists who had contract jobs out there. One guy's job was to track radioactive bunny poop, because what would happen is that these rabbits would sit next to these barrels because they were warm, right? And they would get irradiated, and then they hop all around. And wherever they leave droppings, those droppings are radioactive. But the thing about these rabbits, again, we're talking about a vast range, like 600 square miles, is half the size of Rhode Island. Like, it is an enormous facility. But those rabbits are now prey for, cougars and coyotes. We just now are hearing about wolves.
Not in town.
Rattlesnakes. And this guy said, I was out there and I saw a rattlesnake with 3 eyes. So, like, weird stuff is going on. Even if it's just that good. But there's the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory out there. And there's this facility called the LEAD, stands for the laser.
I need more time. I need more time. I'm not ready yet.
So, this is on the desert side, maybe 19-20 minutes ago.
I'm not ready yet.
It is riddled with labyrinth in passageways, amphitheaters, and those things. Is part Interestingly, there are no hostile encounters for 700.
I need more time. Carrying too much.
And that was back in the 1900s, and they're like, it was that's a very specific description, white Bigfoot creatures. And then as I've been out here, I have I just spoke at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot conference a few months ago, and this is where there are a lot of people that to this day experience seeing a white Bigfoot creature throughout the state, specifically the eastern part of the state, like not just East Tennessee, but from East Tennessee to like Central Tennessee. There's this white Bigfoot creature people are seeing, and I just wonder if that was something that was created. And not to say that all Bigfoot creatures are created by people in labs, but I definitely think that like you've established on this show how people in authority positions will use science to create their own little creatures, and if they know that Bigfoot is even a real creature, why not try to create it to be something that you want it to be? And on that point, so you mentioned about how the Klickitat ape cat is something that people are seeing, but it's not pursuing, it's not chasing people, it's not doing anything threatening. Do you think that maybe if it is a created creature, that it was actually created to be more of a docile creature that only acts under its own training, so that they could have been able to train it to act specifically towards things that they wanted it to, but in general, it's more just a docile creature?
That's an interesting theory. Makes sense. That's something I hadn't contemplated before. Wow, that's kind of a new puzzle piece as far as I'm concerned.
Well, there you go.
What did you think about it? Yeah, because this notion of what is this thing, and what, because you would think a cat that big would definitely find humans as prey, but if it's part of a training program, that would be the exact opposite of what you'd want. Like, you wouldn't want it to automatically go after people. You probably want to build some safeguards into it so that it's only on command that it's doing whatever you want it to do, ravaging the trainers or what have you.
Exactly.
Or imagine if you let these things loose at the perimeter of the site. You don't want it attacking workers or anything like that. You want it to definitely be part of the deal. But even so, the thing about the whole experimental deal is that, there was this thing called Project Headgear, where the CIA or these agencies tried to turn sharks into living torpedoes, remotely controlled. They spent 8 years and $16 million trying to figure out how to electroshock a shark into swimming in towards a boat, and then the plan would be they would stuff it with explosives and the shark would swim over there and then they'd detonate the shark. 8 years, $16 million, and the conclusion was, this was a really bad idea, we should never do it. But it shows you the mentality. And so whether or not they were successful or unsuccessful is not the question. The question is were they willing to try? And I think absolutely they were willing to try. I mean, like, they were doing some, during the Cold War, all the gloves were off. They were thinking that they were saving existence itself. And so, interestingly, this guy Bill Baer was a war hero, fought in World War II, and his specialty was amphibious warfare. And so that's just one of those details that sort of adds the whole, list of, circumstantial evidence kind of thing.
Well, I think... Go ahead.
I was going to kind of move into another topic. If you want to continue on this one, then I'll
I was just taking a different direction. And feel free to do so. I was just going to comment, because it just came into my head. And I don't remember what the actual name of this dog is, but I know it as the Russian bear dog. And I was fascinated.
I've seen this thing. They're giant.
And they were bred to protect farms and ward off bears. And these dogs are very territorial, and they're great pets, you guys. They're part of the space team. They're great dogs, but if you're not part of it, it's coming from exactly. And so, but that's really bred to be like that. And so that was my connecting thought. I was just thinking, like, maybe if you're going to have something so big and cute, that, like, you have to have a way of controlling it. The best way to do it is in the lab while you're making this deflated in a way where it can be docile, it's not going to have a natural inclination to act and things like that. It's just going to be highly intelligent and be able to train it to do exactly what we need. And it's just awesome.
So that's size. So jaguars are the hardest moving cats to train. Lions, obviously, are and it turns out that lions and jaguars can mate and communicate. So what's going to happen? If they call the jaguar on this, the lion and the jaguar communicate together. Apparently they love each other very much. And they were jaws. And one of them is this enormous black jaguar. And you can see videos of it on YouTube. But it shows you that they were, why not interbreed these things? Some of the wilder theories are, you look at this gravitational anomaly detection thing out there looking for anomalies in space-time continuum. There's some folks that, over a couple of beers will theorize that maybe they pulled something back from the Ice Age, some kind of time warp type of situation. I mean, the notion that there are portals out here is, we have a number of people who have come into the store and told us those kind of stories. But more interesting, I think where I was going to go a little bit earlier, is that there have been UFO sightings around Hanford since the early 1940s.
Autumn is upon us, and as we transition into the season, routines tend to get busier. With the kids back at school and our schedules packed with soccer practices and seasonal events, our homes often remain unattended and susceptible to security risks. In light of this, I wholeheartedly endorse Simply Safe Home Security and their groundbreaking home monitoring innovation, 24/7 live guard protection. This cutting-edge solution is crafted to proactively stand in the way of criminal activities in real time. In the unfortunate event of an intruder gaining access to your home, SimpliSafe's team of professional monitoring agents can not only see the situation, but also communicate with and deter the trespasser using SimpliSafe's latest Smart Alarm wireless indoor camera. The 24/7 live guard protection in the new Smart Alarm indoor camera integrates seamlessly within the SimpliSafe system, providing comprehensive security coverage against break-ins, fires, floods, and more. For a limited time, get 20% off your new system when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring. Visit simplysafe.com/confessionals. That's simplysafe.com/confessionals. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
So Washington State highest per capita UFO sightings, also highest per capita Bigfoot sightings anywhere in the country. But the very first UFO, like flying saucer thing that set America on its path was the Kenneth Arnold sighting. This is a private pilot flying from the west side of Washington to the east side. He's traveling near Mount Rainier. He sees 9 discs flying through the air. This is June of 1947. And reports them moving at speeds that are impossible for the time. And basically they're flying from the north to the south. And as he watches them disappear, they're heading towards Mount Adams. So that's the mountain that's 30 miles from my store. And Mount Adams looks directly down at Hanford, like it's part of the whole geography of the area. So you've got this, and Hanford has had numerous sightings of UFOs around the nuclear facility itself. So, and I don't know what to make of UFOs, whether they're from another planet or from another dimension. I don't have any strong opinion about that. I tend to think that they're probably from another dimension because of the portal activity we see out here. Well, there is a place just south of Mount Adams called East City Ranch. It stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. James Gilliland has been out there for decades, and people come from all over the world, and you can hang out on his property, camp out there, and they watch UFOs fly around Mount Adams all night. People come skeptics and they leave believers. And so they claim to be in contact with a number of different extraterrestrial races. And one of the most important ones apparently, because it's part of the logo, is they made contact with the race of aliens. And so again, like the weirdness of the gorge is kind of
I forge more than horseshoes and nails. What do you need?